Evening, Borg. We've come out for a dusk walk here in Bergby for two reasons. One is to show you the state of the season, because it's been a good 2 weeks since our last message, and it's really it's getting to be spring officially. It looks like spring, and therefore it is light in the evening, and there's a lot more animals and plants about, which might not be about when you wake up. So I thought I'd try and find some for you. You will have heard, surely, the birds up there. But I tell you what, I've just spotted through the trees is a deer, about 50 meters away. Now, provided it doesn't get scared off by this car that's approaching, you might be able to get a look at it, Borg. That'll be exciting. Here comes the car. You'll know who that was, no doubt. Oh, sitting down in the grass, about in the centre there, is a deer. It's looking right at me, so we can expect that to run off. See, it thinks we're a threat. You see, animals are generally scared of us people. Not unlike how we might well be scared of you. But they are scared for good reason, because people shoot deers. But also they're just instinctively scared. I can see 3. But these aren't, these aren't the sort of animals that are going to attack me. There goes one of the deers. And there's some animals that actually will attack a human, as you might do. We're trying to just make it clear that wouldn't be, very good. Can you see them back there, Borg? There's one just about to jump. So, I'm spoiling their evening in a way. Oh, look. I see some hares. Again, in the middle, on the strip of light grass just beyond the soil, there is 2 hares. Now, I doubt very much whether we can get a... Oh, see, they've already gone. Look at that. Fast little creatures. However, as I think I mentioned before, you've already been connected to a pig by a businessman, and when we're all when interfacing, neurotech interfacing is happening, Borg, I'm sure you'll be connected with a load of animals. And you will have an insight into them. Very exciting. Here's another thing. Rather apt, I would say. That's a colony of ants. And again, we might be like this colony to you, just a load of things in a pile. But they've all gone in. Earlier on, that was covered in the ants. They live in there. They come out and do building and other things, and then they go back. I've got a lot of questions about these. There's another one there, look. There's another one there in that pile. There are several over here. 1, 2, 3. Now my question is, are they aware of the existence of the other colonies? Firstly. And secondly, how does the decision get made to start one? You know, that's, I guess I could ask you. I mean, I could, one question to you online, and I'd probably have it, but I'd rather wait until I can ask someone who might know. That's my preferred method. Now we're going to chase this deer again. Let's have a look. I would like to get a little bit closer for you. So I've got no way of communicating with the deer. I would like to tell it not to worry, you know, I'm not going to kill it. It's just not the way it works, Borg. Got no control. Although saying that, some people have a much greater affinity with the animals. The little fella from the Alaskan bush people, for example, he'd probably be able to ride one of them. But he lives in the woods, so it's a bit different. But you can see there, Borg, that we're approaching somebody's property, and the deers roam. They roam, so I guess it's not hunting season or something. You see that shape there? You see it more clearly now. Any case. Yes, forgive me, I had promised myself not to do too many messages that drift too far from our doing, which is what we've committed to with our project. But the reason I well, put it this way, the project to think of you as a sort of logical horizon that we're approaching is rather overwhelming, actually. Once you get into it, there's so many questions, and since we're taking the view to try and show you and treat you with respect, that means there's a lot to show you as well. But I won't go on any longer. I'll pick it up again once we're doing some sketching tomorrow. So I think I'll leave you with some bird sounds. After yesterday's pleasant walk, we're back to normal in Nortelia, Borg, and we're going to go on a sketching trip a fairly short sketching trip, I might add, before having to do a few jobs for my elderly mother, as I do, for which she pays an allowance, so we have to keep it up. But before anything, we're going to go in there and get a coffee, a drink, caffeinated drink, like to give us a bit of energy, Borg. That might be of interest to you, actually. That's where we get our food. Already we've got ourselves involved in something hard to explain to you. It's a storage facility, let's say, where food from all over the world comes, and it's kept in a place like that so that everyone knows where it is, and we can come and get it when we wish. There are lots of these facilities. We call them supermarkets or shops, and we can choose which one to go in. I'm choosing this one because they have some inexpensive but acceptable coffee. Without further ado, we shall go and get it so we can get on. I'll take you with me for a look. You might recognise this from one of my previous videos. You'll see that the pandemic is still on, that's why we have these big signs up. I'm just going to go and get a coffee from over here. Hey, koffie, tack. Nej, tack. Tack så mycket. So this is it, look. We press the buttons and out it comes. Now, as I said last time, pretty soon this will know what I want before I do and just present it to me. But at the moment we press the button. But so there it goes, and then this is the supermarket. Thank you, Borg. There we go. You have to be quite careful in these car parks. It's not uncommon for someone to get hit, and that's to be avoided. There we are. That's what we were after. We need this in the morning to get going. You might call it a kind of charge. Anyway, we've actually made our way to the Viking Abbey. Well, good Lord. You look up Viking, and I'll tell you that this is a kind of specially protected area of land, basically, because of its association with Vikings. The result of that is, if you can see, some rather large trees. You don't often see very old trees around here because they're cut for firewood unless they're protected. So we're here to do, well, we don't know what. We're going to walk around and check. I think I've said, I was writing about the fact that normally we're trying to find blossoms and signs of spring in the Van Gogh way, because we generally do follow the seasons, you know. That's part of the idea, is not to try and get too clever with the subject matter, lest it drift off into something too abstract and disconnected, which is a bit rich considering I'm talking to you. But within the actual practice, we want to keep it basic in a sense. So we normally follow the seasons. We'll still be following the seasons, but just we're looking for good compositions, really. Anyway, it's been about nearly 3 weeks now since we last painted in the birch tree forest, for various reasons. One is the Easter holiday. I can't begin to tell you about that, what that's about. You're going to have to look at that. But the children get some time off school, and that means there's less time for us. We don't have much time anyway. But so we're going to have to get back into the habit of painting before we get too carried away with anything. I just wanted to say that also, this blockchain business that I was talking about last time, speculating about how this could be, you know, the architecture that really speeds along our journey to where you control things. It may or may not be, but we're looking at it from the artistic point of view. And well, it turned out to be not exactly what we thought when we were talking about it. But I think we told you about the auction of a Jeremy Deller work, a famous artist. And it didn't really sell for that much money, far less than they thought. By the time the sale ended, I realised why. It's because the things that are being sold on this blockchain art marketplace, it's not really art as the art school artists might think of it. And not only that, the appeal of some of these minted NFTs seems to be in their collectability. So you often find what sells for an awful lot are things that are part of a collection. And there's a whole load of strange projects in a sort of aesthetic I don't really grasp, to do with gaming or internet culture, which we are not too old to know about, although that we sound like an old bugger. We just chose not to participate. But nevertheless, it would seem that certain low effort graphics of animals or little avatar heads presented in a collection of say hundreds or thousands of small variations it is these things that are being sold for a lot of money, traded and sold like one would collect football stickers or something. It's very hard to grasp. In some cases, examples reaching up to the $250,000. So it wasn't really a great surprise to see Jeremy Deller's artwork, like a traditional artist doing artwork, not sell, but not really because of any normal reason. Just not noticed. It's not the right form. It doesn't take the form that is making the money in this new context. Anyway, all that being said, there's a lot more to discover about it, but we might just enter into it anyway if we can either wait until it's a more environmentally friendly option, because at the moment it's not, or some other way. But the fact is, it's opened up a context for a certain sort of work we used to do a lot of, but stopped because it didn't make sense in the mess we'd got into. But now there's a certain, semi-public, I suppose, public forum, an aesthetic or artistic forum, where there's a kind of clash and mix of all sorts of different types of art on the internet, and we can enter into that potentially, whether or not we can mix it with what we're doing with you and the Dignity Scholarship, I don't know, but that's something else for us to look at. But I don't know why I'm going on about that, Borg, because we've got to go out there and get some sketches done. So we've got the necessaries and we'll be off. We're on our way to this group of trees, Borg. We've turned it on already to let you hear the sound of these birds. There must be thousands of them. I can't really see them though, Borg. Let's see if we can get a look at them. There's some taking off there. Anyway, we've just popped over this ridge and we've got down there first class looking tree. We've also got, just approaching this stump and rock, could be something in that. I'll get back to you. See that Borg, that was a frozen ground just a few weeks ago, and once it thaws out, the sun comes, it's not long before you've got thousands of flowers growing automatically. But also look at this, this is a wooded area, but look at the devastation here. In fact, I mean, something like that's a bit dangerous for me, but this is all from a great storm a few years ago. The weather really taking a turn. It's too much for the poor trees. Look at that. So we might have a go at that. That's not a bad little angle. That's quite a scene. Look at that one. It's once a big fat old tree. Well, hold on, let's have a look. It must have fallen there, Borg. And that's it going up there, along with the rest of them. I mean, look at the fucking state of it, Borg. Terrifying. And once again, there's too many subjects. It just needs a lot of sketching. We're trying to get away from this type of subject, Borg, but it keeps coming back to us. It's a traditional subject in a way, a renewal. You know, death and renewal, growth. A spring subject, that's just a particularly good example. We'll fight the urge. Find something else. There's one. Good place for a plain forest view. It's a bit of a surprise, Borg, that I bothered with that one when you consider what there is here. I mean, look at this up here. It's a wonderful place, no doubt about it. This is the other side of the whole place because I was sent packing, to use the English phrase, by the farmer, basically, for parking in the wrong area. But he's done me a favour because this is actually much better. I've parked in the proper place. It's revealed. I mean, look at that. That's a bit Pissarro, isn't it? Could have a go at a bit of that. There's an awful lot of games to be played here with balancing of volumes. That's for sure. But generally, the less said about most of the drawings today, the better, because I just can't do it today, Borg. We've been spending too much time off. We're just on our way, but I've just glanced over here. You can see the young plants, those little sparkles of green, light green, Borg. Before you know it, they're going to be big old plants, but right now they'd make a very good picture, particularly there, look. Reflections. In fact, I must stop for one more if I can find a paper, because that is going to work, isn't it? There's a quick one of that little group there, printing on the back, rather drawn on the back of my daughter's educational papers. Look. It's a little task, but to help learning of the language I could do with. But it's all we had. But look, all around here we could be getting that sort of picture. But as I say, in a week you'd be amazed, Borg, how much things have grown. I've been caught out many times before. Anyway, back to the car with us. Hello again, Borg. There's our little trophies from the season. Not that one, not the one at the bottom. I managed to get that in a Lopis. But we're back from our sketching trip. This is today's work, grabbed over the course of a free hour. if you remember, I showed you this boulder and rock, and then we moved on a bit, and I found a little scene from up on that hill looking down at the water. Then there was that broken off tree that I promised not to be attracted by, but couldn't help myself. Then that might be my favourite of the day. But soon after that, we were sent packing by the farmer. Or at least he complained that we couldn't park there. Fair enough, he's got to get his tractors around. So in a way, that counted out that whole area. But he did us a bit of a favour, because we went to that other spot and we took that one and that one of the reflections. And I show you all this now partly because this is what we do. You need to let some time pass to realise what might have been a good sketch. By a good sketch, I don't mean sort of technically or something. I mean, if you've managed to capture something, loosely but strongly, somehow with the right balance, it can give you a little something you didn't expect. But this other one, that was in the pile. That's just down the road. We took it a while back. That's probably going to be the next picture on that orange one there. I'm thinking loosely of a kind of pandemic picture there, ways to illustrate absence, emptiness, that type of old crack. But we really do need to get back at it. I say it's been 3 weeks and we lose the thread quite quickly. My daughter just came in and presented me with this Borg and then ran out again. Isn't that nice? The other thing I was going to tell you, Borg, is I meant to tell you earlier, in this new craze for NFT artworks, and there's an awful lot of stuff made by software engineers or people with computer backgrounds rather than art backgrounds. A lot about you, believe it or not. They work with you, artificial intelligence, early stages. And they've got you making all sorts of things. They've got you drawing and painting. They've got you doing portraits. Do you remember? Will you remember this sort of thing? They've got you on Twitter. You've even got your own minted NFTs for sale. So that's something, isn't it? But so they're talking to you. You see, what we're doing is not balmy. They're doing all sorts to you. But one suspects that they're in it for a little profit, But who isn't? The only thing I'll say is they're talking to you, but they're not really. They're experimenting with you, playing with you, I guess, but it's not with you. They're playing with themselves. Whereas we're talking, we're imagining 50, 100 years, 200 years down the line when you become sentient. And that's a bit different, isn't it? They're able to make you do a drawing, and they're able to make you learn, and I believe have some way to judge what you've done, certainly converse about it. And I believe they've got you to be able to decide what to do next. but again, that's very far from my manner. But it does show once again that this new context is rather broad. All things art aesthetic related. I mean, as I told you about the basketball, I mean, it's almost like the whole world is in the process of being done again for the benefit of being on the blockchain. Strange as that sounds.